I want to explain how to do annotation in Carlson. So this is just a typical sort of closed polyline for a boundary, and then little tie lines here, polyline that's a tie. It can be separate lines. It doesn't matter how you want to do that. Um, there's some advantages with polylines because it can work with auto label a little bit easier in some cases. So I've also made these lines a little thicker just for appearances, and the text I'm making it a little bit bigger just again so you can illustrate and see what's happening here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go to Annotate, and then Annotate Defaults. So just look at where that is and how you can go through and do it. I've set this up the way that I want. I've exaggerated the text. Normally I would have that about 1.12, 0.10, somewhere in there, but I'm going to make it a little bigger so we can see the text more easily. So that's under General. I like to see these as operate them as mtext, but you can make them as single line text as well. Doesn't matter however you want to do that. Angle. Again, the biggest thing here is I would make sure you set this at the particular layer that you want. If you don't like the layers you've got, you can enable it on the fly here and name it whatever you want. So that's what I would do. I have it set up the way I like in terms of the layers. Same with the style of text. You can select whatever text style you want. And I've got my own made up here. GSM is the abbreviation for my company. So that's how I have it done. Also down here in the cardinal angles, I like to see this with cardinal. I don't want them abbreviated. Again, these are all little things that you can do yourself and see how you want to deal with this. Distance, same thing here. Again, selecting the layer and the text style. I default to this because I like how it comes out. So I'm going to leave it. Arcs, same way. Again, just checking on these things here, making sure that I've got the layers that I want. Now keep in mind that down here you can save this. It's going to save it, and I have it saved under my GSM settings. It's a location for all of my settings for everything in Carlson. I would recommend doing that rather than overwriting settings that Carlson has defaulted to. Then when you upgrade, it's going to overwrite those settings. So I always make my own settings, put my initials in front of it. In this case, it's my company's initials, and that's how I do it. So that's something to keep in mind just as a best practice. So that's what it amounts to for the annotate defaults. I'm going to click OK here. And I'm going to go up and do annotate just to show you how it works, auto annotate, and it's got its own settings. So it pops up with this other dialog box. It's real similar. If I go to general settings, it's going to be similar to what I just did. In fact, it's the exact same screen as what I did before. But now on auto annotate, there are a few other things I can do. I default this almost entirely. Arcs. In this case, I'm only going to show arc length and radius, but you can do delta angle, chord angle, and you set these numbers and you can see how they're going to show up here outside or inside or however you want to do these. So we can go to inside here and you can carry on with whatever other elements you want to include in your arc. There's a ton of settings. I won't go through all of those, but just to give you an idea of how you can do it and where you want to work with this. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and save again to make sure my settings are what I want. I'm going to save that and click OK, and then OK here. And then all I got to do is click the actual polyline and hit the enter key, and it automatically labels. It came out pretty good. There's a few things I don't like here, like this is separated here. Don't really like how that's done. It's also upside down. This one's upside down, which is going to happen. That's fine. We can fix that, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So you go up here to annotate, and you can flip labels. You'll play with this till you get a kind of a feel for it. It's kind of hard to explain. Basically, what I'm going to do is, if I want something to be in place, just turned around like here, this one here, I want it to be turned around so I can read it. It's not upside down. So in that case, what you do is you go flip labels, and then it's mirror selected labels. And click this, and it just, select the ones I want, and it's just going to mirror it just like that. That's what I want there. If you can also flip it, I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So I don't like how this is. I'm going to actually move everything here. It's not like I want, so I'm going to actually hit this and erase this. And I'm going to go up here and go annotate. And I could play with it with the auto one and get it the way I want, but just to show you how it works. Annotate arc, and then we'll go label arc and click OK here. And then I'm going to look at which ones I want to do. I want to go outside and outside on both these, and then click OK. And it shows them on the outside, which is the way I want this. when I'm ready. So now that starts looking like I want. I'm going to go over here and label this. So another thing you can do, instead of doing the auto label, I'm going to show you a few other things. If you go down to angle and distance here, you'll pick up all these different kinds. If you look up closely here, you can see bearing on the top, above the line, bearing below the line, bearing and distance, bearing above, distance below, etc., etc. I want to see bearing and distance. I'm going to go above the line. That looks like it's going to make sense to me, but it depends on how this polyline was drawn, which direction it's drawn. It may come up, yep, it's going to be upside down. Again, I can redo that, or I can just go annotate, flip label, and I'm going to go, in this case, I want to mirror and flip. So like this, oops, that's not the right one. Just go now, in this case, I'm just going to go mirror, select the label, pick that, and now it's how I want. Annotate, angle and distance. I can go, I actually want to just see an angle over distance in this case, bearing over distance. So I'm going to use that one there and click on this. Again, you can see it's labeling these cardinal distances or cardinal bearings. They're actually showing up as spelled out. I set that at south. Some people can do differently on this. This is how I like to see it. So that's how those work. So that's the annotation and labeling really quickly how it works. Again, up here, angle distance, you can do all these different kinds. You're welcome to play with those and experiment how you like to do that. Another one thing I want to show you in here quickly is area. And I'm going to go area by interior point. Click on interior point here. I'm going to click on this. It's going to be, I've got it set up so I can go name this parcel 1. And by the way, it'll actually click through, and each one I do successively will counter it up to 2, 3, 4, whatever, like that. And then there's not quite exactly where I want. I move it down a little bit, and there I've just labeled all these in just a few minutes. Got them the way that I want to. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. You noticed when I flipped and mirrored and stuff, it recognizes the text, has some intelligence in terms of the text, but actually these are separate items. I can actually just move these around and do whatever I want to here. These are actually able to move these around and get them the way you want to. So here. So now one other thing I'd like to show you is under annotate here. You go down to coordinate, label coordinates and elevation. You can do a lot of different things with this. I just kind of set some stuff up here. One thing I want to point out is I want this to be northing and easting. That's how I want to see them. I want to go north and east only. You can do northing and easting and elevation. You can set this however you want to there. I defaulted a lot of it. Again, I tweak the size of the text. And again, I'm going with my style name, my text name, and my layer name. So I'm happy with this. Again, you can save this in settings. So yep, that's good. Save that. So there's all these settings in Carlson. Once you've got that saved, just load them up and off you go. So click OK here, and I'm going to draw a line for this. Let's say I want to do this and put this line out here. Like that. That's the angle that I want. Okay, so I can put that on the layer that I want to and so on. But for now, I've got this, so I can go annotate, label, coordinate, click OK. I'm happy with it, what it's going to be there. And then wants to know the description, so I'll go SEC, COR. Again, you don't have to have a description. You can just hit the enter key. And I'm going to go, oh, now I can snap to that line, and now it lines it up exactly like what I want. Basically, labeling and annotating in Carlson